Good morning. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with the Angels. I'm excited for you guys to be here, and I'm excited to talk about our next guests. So I'll wait for people to click on. Do not mind here. Do you see this? This is God's light here. Yes, I have a window here, and everyone's like, it's a reflection of the window. I have sat here multiple times. You guys have seen me with the sun, and I can it's very weird. So, good morning. See this? Look at this. This is me moving this light here. When can you? It's crazy. I don't know. So that's what we're gonna deal with today. Our guests, I'm super to talk about Brad and Kirsten, I think is how you say her name. I spelled her name wrong a couple of times. Sorry about that. Yeah, people do that to my name all the time, and I'm sorry. So they're gonna join us. They're yogis. They've studied shamanic arts. They are firewalkers. She talks about the records. They are a fantastic couple with so much to talk about. I'm going to wait for them to click on. As soon as I see, good morning, everybody. I'm glad you guys are here. I got my camera this way because I'm supposed to be a split screen. Too bad I just figured that out about these Facebook Lives. Isn't that funny? Let me see if they're on yet. They're not on yet, so I'll wait for them to be on. Hello, everybody. Thanks for watching. I hope everybody has their coffee. Look, I can't even talk today. Good morning, Victoria. Good to see you. I hope everybody has their coffee. Don't mind this light business, guys. It's God's light here. I'm waiting for Brad and Kirsten to come in. Look at God's light is in here, just letting me just play with it. So yeah, I'm excited about to introduce them. We're going to talk about a lot of all their things. I don't know where they are, what they do, and I'm going to see if I can add you, Kirsten. I hope I'm saying your name right. There's not an add button. Okay, I added, and so request to be live here, Kirsten. I just added it so you can say be a guest or whatever. I'm going to get notified so then I can add you. Oh, Facebook Live. I know there's better technology out there. Share it. See, I just got my first cup. Me too. Here she is. Thank you. Boom shikalaka. Adding. Hopefully it splits the screen. Come on, Facebook. And I think all you have to do is accept, and then hopefully it clicks on. And I know we're delayed a little bit. Hopefully. Knock on wood. Sending good energy. Let's see. Yep, I got my coffee. There you guys are. It worked. Yay. So I just figured out that if you turn your phone this way, you can have this kind of split screen. Welcome to technology. Too bad I just really figured that out. Welcome. Good morning, Brad. And it's Kirsten, right?
Yeah, Kirsten.
Okay, I'm probably going to mess it up because I mess up everybody's name. So welcome and thank you for joining us. Why don't you guys introduce yourself and kind of tell us a little bit more about what you do. And yeah, we'll go from there.
Good morning. I'll let you go first.
You go first.
My name is Brad, and I just show up. I just show up. I'm a yoga teacher, and in my journey as a yoga teacher and my journey for my own self-healing, I did a lot of self-healing with the shamanic arts, and in living with that for as long as I have, I began to, it felt like a very natural, comfortable, safe, it felt like home to explore the shamanic arts. And so I started to train with teachers. Shamanism is a little different. As far as healing arts, to me, it's just a lifestyle, and it's not exclusive to any particular person. So I just started living that lifestyle with an awareness of mindful and in very conscious and loving relationship with everything. And then I continue. It's because I believe it's a lifelong journey. I just continue to study that, and then also a firewalk instructor.
That's awesome.
That's what I do.
I love it.
Yes, that's what I do.
I love it. Go ahead. You're up next, and then I'll ask questions.
Good morning, everyone. Gosh, I was raised in a very non-traditional family, 2 artists, crazy spiritual stuff. So I was doing spiritual exercises and meditation when I was like 5, 6 years old. And it was a beautiful way to grow up, but not very well grounded. So I graduated from high school and got really conservative and became a CPA. And lived, the business life and raised, started raising 3 of my daughters, and came back to spirituality about 15 years ago through some life stuff. So I had a background, I was open to a lot of the stuff. Were calling me. And so I started studying the Akashic Records and studied with my teacher, Dr. Linda Howe. And during that process, I was always drawn to past life regression and not only the healing aspects, but just the clarity, just the feeling that people had of that there's more than this life. And so I entered both the Akashic and the past life regression to heal myself, to find a place of balance again after kind of ricocheting back and forth in life. And then fast forward, here I'm, offering it to other people primarily because I believe that it helped me so much find that neutral place of being here and also connecting to spirit and living this very integrous life of taking responsibility, yet also knowing there's much more than this. And in that, I've started doing the Toltec work, the shamanic work, to ground me a little, because I'm not the most grounded person in the world, dealing with all this upper stuff. The shamanic practices are much more grounded in elemental earth aspects while still connecting to spirit. So it's helped me a lot in being more present in all of this. So
I'd like to dive deeper into that topic because I see so many, you guys, thank you, good morning for clicking on. There's so many, we have also professionals on here, as much as, opening up to their spirituality. We have a lot of intuitives on here. And
when you say professional, what do you?
I meant like professional, wear the professional cap, like white collar. So yeah. So that's, I love that she has a background in business, and then she's, has twined both of these. When you guys talk about the shamanic healings and what is that? Can you dive deeper in that? Because a lot of this, we're intuitive and we're up in space, and sometimes it's hard to ground. So can you guys elaborate a little bit more on that, and maybe, anything that everybody would want to hear on tips or exercises that they could do?
that's right.
Well, I think that's natural for us to like to, especially as professionals. My background was, I was pre-med and I didn't go that route. So I went into sales naturally, right? And did that for many years before I came back to something that felt more holistic. But we try to, coming from that perspective, I work with a lot of professionals as a yoga teacher, and there's always that language. I wouldn't say barrier, just a dialect. We're both speaking English, but it's almost like we're speaking 2 completely different languages. And we try to contextualize or define or frame everything, which is natural for us because it helps us understand. So rather than define what does it really mean to practice shamanism,
Mm-hmm.
with my experience of doing this for so many years, um, I've studied with a lot of different cultures. So the roots go back to the different native lands that they were born from those cultures out of. And what's so interesting is the similarities in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it boils down to um, being present and mindful and listening to your own inner voice. It's
Mm-hmm.
something I even say when I'm guiding a class of students. You can listen to a teacher, and a yoga teacher is going to tell you, how to shape your body and how to breathe. But the reality is, you have to trust how what your body is sensing and what your heart is feeling and what your mind is thinking. And then when you can quiet and create a cohesive relationship between the three of them, it really creates this channel for spirit to come through, for that deeper essence of yourself, or that more eternal essence of yourself, to express itself through your physical, your mental, and emotional. So to me, the shamanic practice is, it's a very messy practice of getting out of the way of your mind and your heart and your body to allow your spirit to express itself in this dimension, in this life. Um, yeah.
That's awesome.
Does that make sense?
It does, and I like how you said the specifics and getting out of your way, because I think a lot of us sometimes we are in our own way. And so many people talk when I talk about this in my meditations, and everyone's like, I can't shut off my mind, and I can't I can't go into that space. And I love that you teach movement, to focus on the movement, to kind of silence the mind, to focus on something that they do, to open up that part of them that that they need to listen to in a physical body that aligns with this, as you continue to teach a yoga class, because the words I've noticed when I've taken different yoga classes, the teacher becomes the channeler. And you're not only just move from here to here, there's little phrases or things you see that touch people when they're in a certain movement that vibrates, because our tone has a vibration. So not only are you teaching a class, but the things that you talk about in between touches places, not only are physical, but places in our energy that lock and trap emotions. And I love that yoga teaches movement to release energy. I think that's awesome, and I love how it you talk about the different cultures, because those are sometimes here in America are very lost, and we've lost those, and I appreciate that so much.
Well, and yoga teaches the release of energy not just through movement, but it can also teach the release of energy through intention. Ultimately, I believe it's through intention, because through intention, you
mm-hmm.
are directing or conducting the physical, the mental, and the emotional.
How many people understand that when you teach a class, though?
Well,
I'm not to call you out, but I'm just wondering, because they're set intention. No. Okay, I want to get a workout, and I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm trying to think about groceries and kids shopping. So that's why.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
so that's why I was wondering.
So then, as a teacher, we often get stuck into, one framework condition is the teacher guiding the class who recognizes that and then says, and they don't always say it this way, but you're doing it wrong.
Right.
You're stuck in your thoughts. Get out of your thoughts. Stop doing that. Through my shamanic teachers, it's beautiful because I can take all of these lessons from teachers outside of yoga and weave them into the experience in the classroom, in that container, and the experience becomes wherever you are is perfect. If you're making a mess, that's perfect. If you're stuck thinking about what's for dinner, or the argument that you had with your partner, or that your child acted like a total obnoxiousness that morning, that's okay. Be with that. We have this tendency of, oh, I'm doing it wrong, I'm not supposed to be in that. Sweep it under the mat, ignore it, shove it down. Well, you're that's counter to what the practice is about. The practice is about opening up. Let that stuff come out and then be with it. Don't judge it. Don't resist it. Just observe it and witness it. That's all it seeks to do. There's a part of you that just seeks to feel or, express through emotion, or through a thought or through a sensation in the body. And we as humans, then our minds, oh, that's a problem. I need to solve it. I need to bury that. I need to put that away. That's wrong to be thinking in this moment. How about it's just whatever is. My current teacher had this beautiful practice of sending us out in nature and said, be in nature and nestle into this land until you can become empty. Entirely empty, without thought, sensation, without feeling, and just be with the land until you can let the land fully embrace you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went out there and I practiced yoga. And I noticed the let down, the shift within, the letting go of the resistance of surrendering myself into that land and the stories that would come up, and then I'd stay there longer. I think it took me like 4 hours to finally let go. And then what came of that was the way I teach that now is say, imagine a room and you've just moved into this space and it's full of all your boxes of your stuff. And the idea is to remove all the stuff from the room and just to be empty. And then there's this thought in the mind says, but then I don't have stuff, and I'm attached to this stuff. This stuff is my measure of my affirmation of my worth. And we're attached to this stuff. But that stuff, that attachment to that stuff is an energetic investment that really removes now our capacity to fully experience other things that could come through us, channel through us, pass through us, that are with us in any given moment to have experience. Does that make sense? So if we can be empty, we are now a fully open vessel to experience whatever is in the moment. We're just not conditioned to live that way.
Right.
I'll share.
Please.
Oh, can I share like a simple practice? Or I believe spirit meets me where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the hardest part is we're in denial. We're forcing ourselves towards something. And spirit, at least when I encounter it in the fullest form, has no judgment, no resistance, no fear. And so we have to get out of our own way, as you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And yoga is great because you're in this body movement and you let go of some of your attachments to control, etc. So it kind of moves you out of your way a little. But in general, if we can just meet ourselves honestly, spirit isn't like, once you get here, then I'm going to connect to you. Spirit's like, you need to be who you are.
Yep.
And so if we can just be in our physical body, so a practice I go through is called the triple sync. And I close my eyes and I just am in my physical body for a few moments. And I notice everything. I notice the weight of my body sitting on this couch, the weight of my hair on my head, the temperature, my heart beating, anything physical. And I just give myself a few minutes to be in that physicalness, not changing it,
Mm-hmm.
meeting it where it's at, where if I have a pain, just be with my physicalness. And then I shift my energy, my focus up into my emotional body, which is really around me, but I can anchor into my heart and I can say, where am I emotionally, honestly? Am I scared right now? Am I excited? Am I angry? Again, meeting myself exactly where I'm at. Not trying to get somewhere, be here where I'm at. I just be with those emotions for a few minutes. And then I shift up into my mental body, which again is around me, but we can anchor up here into our third eye or our crown and say, what are my honest thoughts right now? Am I being skeptical? Am I doubting? Where am I? And just be with those thoughts, let them pass through. So it's this meeting, all of them. And then I kind of feel all the energetic bodies come into my heart all at once. And to me, that opens up this portal to spirit,
Mm-hmm.
because I am exactly where I need to be and spirit meets me. And then that's the time to ask the questions. Right. And then to just be with whatever arises. And you might feel it, you might think it, however, let go of what it's going to look like.
Right.
But to me, if I can spend that 5 minutes, 6 minutes of just anchoring to each of those bodies and then pulling them together, I feel like I become a more clear channel for myself, for spirit to meet me.
I think that's beautiful. I encourage everybody to try that. It's definitely tying in the mind, body, spirit. Like, truly, that is fantastic. So I have a question when we're talking about movement and releasing and energy. So let's say somebody's really been working on themselves. Okay, they've been working on themselves and they've practiced their yoga or their movement or whatever they're at, their mindfulness, but they still feel like there's an energetic piece, and that's where you come in, Kirsten, and then where you go over their records and you go over past life. How does that tie in to releasing the energy and the blocks and all that? How do you incorporate? Because I love how you got this and then you have all the past and then you tie this into one. I'm going to keep getting calls.
Yeah.
I forgot. How do you put this into one big ball of helping for the individual, just not in their current, as he was talking about, this dimension, but multiple?
Mm-hmm. Well, in the Akashic field, as I see it, because it's a vibrational field,
Mm-hmm.
we're all one continuum. So there's many lives, there's many people, we're all just homogenous. And so when we go into an Akashic record reading, we're in this field of infinite possibilities, past, present, and future. And I have to anchor into this life, into this body. So what happens kind of is we just create a focal point. But in truth, your records are my records. So it's kind of this, it's like you're in this ocean swimming, and we start gathering in drops that relate to the present. And so what I look at is present moment. That's my anchor point, because really your past doesn't matter if it doesn't relate to what you're going through right now.
Okay.
And so the past lives will appear sometimes if they're related to perhaps a fear, a phobia, a condition, a limitation that you feel or that you encounter, and the life will appear. It will reveal itself. And truly, it's just visiting it again. It's like deep therapy of meeting it once again without this resistance, judgment, or fear. And like meeting a child, you just are with it, and you get to experience it without all of the anger and the frustration, and then it dissolves. Essentially, it just needs to be seen.
Okay.
And what happens typically, as I see it over this life, past lives, perhaps you have a tragic death or you have a trauma in your life, and you're not able to deal with it. So the energy body will hold on to that as a teaching and experience. Nothing's wasted. Nothing is bad in truth. Right. They're all opportunities to learn, to move deeper into our understanding of life. So I think I got off on, so in regards to just like the past lives and then even future aspects, it's still, to me, is so important that we move them all into present time. How does that relate to what I need right now? Because otherwise it's just a bunch of stories.
Right. Do you do energetic, not to interrupt you, do you do energetic clearing work? If there's, do you do any of that energy clearing?
Well, and it's been coming through, like that wasn't my training, but once you're in that field of, it's like it comes through.
Okay.
So, but I feel like I'm not doing the clearing. It's almost like when I put my hands up, it's like the field comes through and bounces off me and moves into the person. Does that make sense? So I feel like I just become so still that the energy is able to meet that person.
Right, you're just channeling the energy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are asking, like, how do I talk about, or how do I get a past life? And I do want to talk about that. So if people want to connect with you, do you do distant past life readings? Do you do that?
I do remote readings all the time, but I have to be really clear with my clients. I can't just do a past life on command.
Right.
It has to relate to something you're dealing with right now.
Perfect.
Because a lot of times what you're dealing with, there is a cause or a reason in this life, and we need to look at that too. And I know it's really exotic and fun to go to these past lives. And the reason it works is because there's an emotional disconnection. It's like this, it's like watching someone else. And sometimes that's exactly what we need. But sometimes we have to go into the thick of this life too. But yes, I do do that remotely. And yeah.
I love that. So you guys, I talked to Brad a little bit last week about your guys' yoga retreat that he's planning. Are you guys doing this together? I do want to talk a little bit about this. You guys, they are local. They're here in Kansas City, in the same city I am, but they are, and I do want to talk a little bit about that fire walking because that is fantastic. And a lot of people are like, are you crazy? What does that mean? But I think it's important to talk about that and talk about kind of your yoga retreat in case people want to come from a distance and kind of the things that you offer. So if people want to get in contact with you, you can tell us all kind of about those two things, fire walking and your yoga retreats.
Well, we have another guest interested in coming in. This is Kitty.
Oh, nice. How cute. We have a lot of animal lovers. So
yeah. And we have a sweet puppy too, but she's downstairs resting. So I've been really called to work with men. And maybe this is an appropriate time to bring this up because of everything that's going on in our country, in our world right now, really our world, the dream of the planet right now. So my first retreat that I'm really focused on right now is to gather a group of men in circle and help them develop a healthier relationship with themselves. So my philosophy in yoga is very simple: stability before mobility, and that applies to the physical, of course, but it also applies mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So if I take all four consciousnesses or dimensions of being, align those with seasons, align those with elements, spend a day on each one. I have a couple things I'm working on. One will be a program locally here, but it'll be one day every quarter in the elements. And here's the deal. It's not about your comfort. We will be in the elements. So in the winter, we will be in the winter. We'll be outdoors. In the context of that design. The other design will be the retreat I'm working on.
So that one's just for men. The first one is just for men.
That'll be something that I have another guy I'm working with, and together we're working on a program to offer that. And we could do that. It's one day per quarter. We'll probably start in the winter of 2019 around February.
Okay.
And you show up, and then in between there's connection, there's relationship, there's integration, constant and ongoing conversation between the men in that group. The other workshop I'm working on is also for men. It'll be in Vermont, and it'll be those 4 days condensed into 4 consecutive days in nature, outdoors. In my spiritual work, just it seems like women are more drawn to that work. They're more receptive to it. So I'm in yoga and at Cura Integrative, where we both practice our modalities. There's just more women. So I've had a few women, as I've discussed this, oh, my husband would love that, my partner would love that, my brother, my father, whoever, my sons. But a few have said, but would you do it for women? And I'm just going to be honest. I don't know why men ever think that they're in any place to speak for women. So I definitely, or speak on behalf of women. I like to look as us, we're all people. Mm-hmm. And we have these archetypal patterns as the male and the female, or the masculine and feminine archetypes that maybe stereotypically and naturally are expressed through our beings as males or females. But I definitely would need help from my partner to create in a more appropriately context retreat. And we just haven't talked about that.
Well, I know, because the spirit just told me that you guys should do like a yoga spiritual retreat weekend that incorporates all, right. Open up, heal, the whole bit.
And the thing about the yoga is, when I say yoga retreat, like Acme Yoga Company is Brad Ober's yoga. But I didn't want to call it Brad Ober's yoga because that just sounds like the Western context of yoga. To me, yoga is just about relationship with self, mm-hmm. physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And so you can practice yoga while you're eating your dinner or drinking your coffee or getting your kids ready and yourself ready for your day, while you're in conversation with friends, while you're driving, while you're just, whether you're a CPA in the office. It's mindful living is that's what I believe yoga is. A lot of the classes I've started to offer to the public now, I don't even like to call it yoga. I like to say it's mindful living, because it's not exclusive to moving in those asana style, those poses, those physical poses. A yoga class honestly could be a coffee and donut tasting if it's done mindfully from a completely
I'll be
different
at that one.
perspective.
Let me know.
Well, exactly. I mean, the idea, especially the way yoga is portrayed on the internet, social media, it's no longer accessible to all of us. And I talk to a lot of people that most of the private, I do a lot of private yoga work, and they're, well, right now it's 50s, 60s, and 70-year-olds, the majority of them men, on a one-on-one level, just helping them redefine the relationship with themselves. And we use a ton of props and we modify it. It doesn't look anything like a public yoga class,
right,
in a strip mall.
That's
It's
awesome.
yeah. And so a yoga retreat for me wouldn't be like, oh, we're going to go and we're going to do yoga class and then we're going to
Right.
be in paradise. No, it'll be a day of recontextualizing how you live, living more mindfully. And so, like, for my retreats, my idea is especially helping men channel all of that masculine energy. Like, oh, I have all this energy. What do I do with it? And then we invest it in unhealthy relationships with something, to channel that into healthy, creative relationships with self on all levels. So whether that's throwing axes or building a fire or just being with nature, finding something that, to create, finding some way to create in our life. And when I say create, I mean, it could be gardening. It could be,
Right.
one of my clients likes to do archery. That's his form of creating. Because the way it is activity that encompasses you so fully that you really tune out everything, all distractions, and you lose yourself. Time and space don't even exist. You just, and immersed in it. I loved it, and oh my gosh, 2 hours just went by. And in the end, I have something to share, to show, to feel appreciation for.
I think that's awesome. Anybody's husbands, you guys, we have time to plan and talk them into it. Tell them that, would you say there will be some beer drinking and fishing? And so it's not just think they're doing some yoga. He's got some great things planned for men.
Yeah. We will do, friction fires. I have a Bushman type guy who travels the world training governmental agencies and their wildlife organizations how to live in nature. Like when you get stuck out in nature, how do you live in harmony with nature and keep yourself alive if you know that you're not going to be able to have resources? And so he's going to be part of, he's going to take us fly fishing. He's going to show us how to do the friction fires.
Wow.
We will walk through fires. So each day we'll focus more on an element, and we'll walk across the coals. We may do a sweat lodge as far as the earth. We may do a water and air ceremony as well. We'll just be in relationship with the elements.
See, I'm with Kim. I might have to talk my husband into this. You guys, we're going to keep their pages up, and if you guys can like and follow both their pages, it's on the posting that I did on Monday. So we can kind of keep in contact with it. I think that's fascinating. I think it's absolutely amazing. And let's talk about this fire walking business, because a lot of people are like, I'm not going to tell my husband that. I mean, he might have been good with that, but what is this fire walking business? Why? Let's ask the question why, because everybody's probably saying, why would you do that?
I'm going to let her start this because she started it.
She started it. Okay.
So this was our introduction into doing joint male-female stuff. Up to that point, I had done more women's summit, and he's working on the masculine. And our intention is for all of us to show up as people. Mm-hmm. And fire walking is a great place to meet. So why would you want to walk across fire? I don't know, the first time that I did it about 9 years ago, I was on a spiritual weekend. Well, actually, it was a week retreat. And it was just one of the things. So we were swimming with dolphins, going to all these ceremonial places that, you'd worship different things in the past. And fire walking was just on the list. And then I got to that day and I had that exact question, like, why would I do this? What is this?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm walking up this crater thing in Hawaii with the man who's going to lead us. And he was a man of very few words. And so I'm like, what is this? How do we do it? And he said, you just meet it where it's at. So back to this dialoguing. He said, essentially, you don't raise your vibration. You become the vibration of the fire. You learn that certain things, this is why, you learn that certain things you were told when you were little, certain limitations, things that you tell yourself daily, may not really be true all the time. And so I talk to people about, we're accustomed to air because we breathe it in. However, we know if you get too much air, you can hyperventilate. If you have too little air, you're going to die. But are we afraid of air? No. Okay. You're not afraid of the ground because it holds you up. Although there's things like quicksand. There's aspects of the earth that can be scary too, that cannot support you. And then water is the next thing that's a little bit shaky. We usually learn how to swim when we're little. Not everybody does. But you learn from an early age that if you fight it, you can sink and you can die in water. You can also learn to float and be with the water, and it will support you. So the final element is fire. And so everybody's like, the fire burns you. And I said, but what if it doesn't burn you all the time? Where can you go in your world, in your life, in your thoughts, if you can break that agreement? And so essentially that's why you do it, and maybe your agreement is not to walk across the fire. Maybe when you show up in fire walk, you're somebody who does everything everybody tells you to do. You are the one who always signs off, shows up, does things, pushes himself, herself to a place that's of discomfort, that's not even an integrity to you. So your walk that day is to not go across the fire. So it's not really even the walking across the fire, it's that decision of what is right for you. But our last fire walk, there were 13 people, and I'd say 2/3 of them had no intention of walking across the fire. And we're good with that. Like, just to witness somebody else do it, your mind goes into a tailspin, like, what did I just watch? Somebody just walked across fire. This isn't true. This isn't true that fire burns you. And all 13 ended up walking. Not because we pushed them across, because they felt themselves go across.
Right.
And it's a beautiful way to break through limitations, agreements that no longer fit. Does it mean you need to be cautious and take care of yourself in your life? Yes.
Right.
And we don't just throw you into the fire. There's a process of meeting the fire where it's at, to where you get to that point and you know whether it's your journey to go across those embers or not.
Well, we have one of your people here. Emily said it was an amazing experience. You guys are incredible guides. Oh, I'm excited. Are you guys going to be hosting another one of these? So if people are interested in
I think we have a few spots in October.
So we have seven tickets available for October. I thought maybe if it sells out, we'll do another one in November. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So I thought it would be really nice. To me, all of these things that we do are always just a piece of the puzzle. So I would like to actually align the Firewalk with other types of experiential activities, and maybe do one every quarter. So in 2019, maybe on the equinox and solstice dates or near them.
that would be,
wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Because you are in nature, you are outdoors, you are under the sky.
Maybe the spring equinox would be amazing.
Well, I'm sorry?
The spring equinox.
That's what I have in mind.
Yeah.
We could always do a private one for a group if they wanted to have us, come to them. That's even more work. But the space that we have, the land that we have, everything's there. There's a lot of resources that we have to bring to the event, so it's pretty easy to just do it on this space.
So when is this in October? October what?
October 20th. October 20th.
Okay.
I
Yes.
think it's on both of our pages.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
There's an event. If you go to Eventbrite and type walker because there's fire walking events around the country, but it's called the Way of the Firewalker is what we've named our event.
And we're limiting it. We're not doing this to make tons of money. We're doing this to offer an experience. So, yeah, we're not into the mega. Our teacher will do 200 people at one time. That's just not our thing right now.
Yeah.
So we do very small groups and
very small groups.
Yeah. And I will say my 17-year-old daughter did it this last time, and I was kind of hesitant to let her because we have kind of a policy that you need to be 18 or older. And she is a competitive dancer who is auditioning at various places to actually dance. And I got really nervous when she decided to do it. At the same time, I have to let her, decide. And next thing I know, she's walking across, and she didn't burn her feet. She thought it was the most incredible experience. And her thing was like, I need to do this again. She's like, I need to start walking across. And her lesson in the fire walk was to walk across and to be present with that experience and to digest and integrate it and not do her normal thing of doing it another 100 times, to just be with it. So sometimes you walk across once and you're done with your life. Maybe you don't walk across at all, but it's just a part of your journey if it calls to you, but it may not be your thing either.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's exciting.
There are other ways of working with fire.
Totally. Yeah.
Right.
I think candles and fires at your fireplace are wonderful. You can always burn some things in a fire and have your ceremony and be in relationship with the element that way. I've loved fire my whole life, so when she first suggested I do it, because we did it in Canada a few years ago, and I was scared. I was so scared.
He was like, a baby. Oh my gosh. He did all the other things. You do these build-up things that really freaked me out.
Yeah.
And so I think I met the threshold early on of meeting my fear. So when it came to the fire, I was like, oh, I can do this. Well, it didn't challenge him, these other steps. So he got to the fire walking, and he was just like walking in circles, like just, I didn't know if he was going to do it. And to this day, even after our training where we did like 40 fire walks over a series of days, like repetitive, he still gets scared. So there is this sense of like, it is a scary thing. We're not saying you're immune to it. And in fact, one of our teachers burned his feet walking across. He'd been doing it for 20 years. So I also want people to understand, like, this is real deal. But I also believe everyone knows when they can meet it. Nobody pushes you across.
Right.
We're walking through the fire every single day in every decision you're making in life. And so your fire walk might be something totally different, but it's just a metaphor for making a choice for you.
That is awesome. Well, I know we've been on here for a while and people are having to get back to work, and you guys have been having to go probably get to your day. And I want to thank you guys so much for joining. And everybody who's watching, if you guys are interested in their page, their Facebook websites are attached to the post I post on Wednesday. Do you guys have anything last you wanna say before we say goodbye?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I definitely want to talk to you guys again, another time when we're not here live. But yeah, I would love to like exchange, healings or anything with you, Kirsten. That would be awesome. We could talk about that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for taking time and joining all my guests and being on here. So I appreciate it so much, and we will talk soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.